determination of competency, they discovered a very serious walnut-sized pituitary cranial tumor. And that tumor was removed in a state-of-the-art way through the nose. They didn't have to go and remove it through the cranium. He was further found to be competent, and after that we went back into the system, and the system worked in every respect. This was a case of self-defense. This was a case of self-preservation. People tend to take themselves so darn seriously, and I can only say we don't want this ever to happen again. So stay cool. Can
you talk about the terms of the psychiatric treatment, the terms of the probation? What will that involve?
That's going to be left up to the probation department. The judge hasn't suggested what that will be. That'll be between the probation officer and Mr. Gay.
Mr. Schiff, you made some comments in court about Mr. Gay's physical condition.
Yes.
I wonder if you could amplify on that a little bit. You're saying that he has deteriorated physically since the tumor was removed?
Yes. Well, his health has just gone downhill from the first day we've ever met Mr. Gay. It's been a constant downhill.
What is he suffering from now? Heart disease or what?
I don't think I could say what it's diagnosed as, but from my own observation, I would say he's suffering from extreme depression and some sort of heart disease. He's suffering severe pains in his heart and his chest.
I would, however, say that he was pleased when he walked out of the courtroom.
Could you repeat for us what he said to the judge?
I'm sorry?
Could you repeat for us what he said?
He basically thanked the judge for his mercy. He told the judge that he loved his son. He told the judge that he wished that this didn't happen. He told me that he wished that this didn't happen. He told Mike he wished that this didn't happen. I wish it didn't happen. We lost a great artist. We lost a wonderful singer. Dare we forget, the marvelous moments that Marvin, meant to all of us. But Marvin was a tragic figure, a very tragic figure. And Marvin met an end that Marvin engineered, I believe.
Mr.
That's
Gold,
my personal belief.
A lot of his fans expressed outrage at the shooting. How do you hope they will react?
I hope they'll react by accepting the very gracious philosophy of the prosecutor's office and the court in doing no further trauma to the family. Don't do any more trauma.
I might add, with that. As far as the fans are concerned, the outrage of the fans, I think, was more at the beginning before the full facts were revealed. And I think now that through the media, if the media exposes what really happened that day, and the fans are aware of it, I think they will feel the way the court felt for Marvin Gaye Sr.
Mr. Gould, what about Mrs. Gaye? As far as I understand, she did not support the
No, that's not true.
Mrs. Gaye, in fact, posted bail for her husband, and this was after that wasn't true.
What is her? Where is she now?
Mrs. Gaye lives in town.
Sitting on the sidewalk. If we did not feel
this is proper in this case.
Yeah, I agree with the judge. I think it would kill him. I don't know. You saw his condition. I don't know that he'd last through even maybe a 90-day diagnostic study out of Chino. He's really fallen apart.
From indications in the case, this was considered to be a case of self-defense, that the defendant had been attacked, in fact. Why then any probation or any sentencing at all? Why not a straight acquittal?
Well, he pled. He entered a plea, no contest plea to the voluntary manslaughter. So if he wanted a straight acquittal, he would have had to go to trial for it. Since he pled that it's going to be a probation period.
Do you believe justice has been served in this case, then,
yes.
The way things turned out?
Yeah, I think so.
There are those who would not agree with you because, after all, a person is dead.
I understand.
Would you define this as a crime of passion, or what would you say to people?
Well, voluntary manslaughter is a crime of passion. It's difficult not seeing the pictures of Mr. Gaye Sr. and the bruises that were inflicted upon him to probably for the public to understand the fear he may have been feeling at the time. It's one of those cases, it's situational, it's a family member, and Mr. Gaye, based on his age and his deteriorating physical and emotional abilities at this time, I can't, it's just hard for me to say the man should go to prison. He did 80 days, plus with the credit he'd get approximately 4 months of time in county jail, and the probation report was favorable to him. If the probation report had come back unfavorable, maybe we'd be in a different position. They were recommending state prison or something, maybe we'd be in a position of...
He shot in self-defense, then you're saying?
I don't think he shot in self-defense, no. No. I think he shot in a situation that amounted to a voluntary manslaughter. Actually, I think my opinion is that it's between a second-degree murder and a voluntary manslaughter, but when you're litigating a case and someone's willing to plead to the voluntary manslaughter and the chances of getting a second are there but maybe not in your favor, then I took the plea to the voluntary manslaughter. But no, if I thought it was self-defense...
What are you defining then, if it's not self-defense? He was in fear for his life?
No, I'm saying in terms of the murder case being knocked down to a voluntary manslaughter. I think there's legitimate fear for his life, but I think that he also had enough of a situation that he didn't have to get a gun and shoot his son. I don't think this... See, he describes the situation differently than his wife does, and obviously we were relying on the wife's version in the prosecution. Now, by entering a no contest plea, he's not really challenging any of what we were relying on. So I'm not getting into it. He feels he shot him in self-defense. That's what he still feels at this time. I don't think that that was the situation involved in the shooting.
Are you entirely satisfied with the way the case came out then?
Yes.
Okay. No
If there
reservation?
had not been a gun in the house, then Marvin Gaye Jr. would still be alive.
Most likely, yes. Yes.
The back page first.
That dog. Is that
Legal cause?
No.
Any comment?
I'd submitted on the plea agreement,
Which was?
1 year concurrent with the 360 days he is now doing.
All right, Mr. C, the state prison today, I would have chosen the midterm. You'll be on formal probation for a period of 3 years. You'll do 365 days at 15 days good time, 15 days work time, no county parole. You make restitution for the damage to the is approved by the probation officer.
Morning, Your Honor. I'm Barry Colby and Mike Schiff for Marvin Gaye Sr.
All right, and Mrs. Brackey for the people. This is the time for probation and sentence. I've read the probation report. Have you, Mr. Gold?
Yes, Your Honor. I did read it.
And have you, Mr. Schiff?
Yes.
And have you, Ms. Brackey? Waive arraignment for judgment?
So waived.
Any legal cause?
None.
I'll hear your comments.
Thank you. Your Honor, with reference to the circumstances and mitigation, which I feel support a straight probation imposition, the victim was, in our opinion, the aggressor and the provocateur. He inflicted a severe beating to the defendant contemporaneous with the shooting. We have pictures of the defendant by the booking officers to confirm that beating and the severity of that beating. The beating was witnessed by one witness, the defendant's wife and the victim's mother. You will recall that the defendant had a suprasellar brain tumor removed from the cranium, which lent him to believe that danger was imminent, that he acted in self-defense and in self-preservation. I concur with the statements of the very fine team of investigators in this matter, who indicated that they felt that the shooting was isolated, they felt that the shooting was situational, and that the defendant poses no threat to society.
Had been suffering from this tumor for God knows how many years prior to this event. The tumor was removed. The removal of the tumor, unfortunately, has not had a lot of effect on Mr. Gay's physical condition. His physical condition has actually deteriorated from the time the tumor was removed. Mr. Gay also suffers else. Mr. Gay is extremely sorry for what happened. As Mr. Gold pointed out, the loss. Since April 1st of this year, Mr. Gay has had to live with this and will have to live with this for the rest of his life. He wishes, as Mr. Gold said and as Mr. Gay said to the probation officer, that his son could walk back through this door. As far as I said, as far as any further time in custody, I just don't think it's warranted in this case, Your Honor. I think we should send Mr. Gay home to live out the rest of his life. I don't think society has to worry about Mr. Gay ever committing another crime of any kind. He has never had any confrontation with the law in his 71 years until April 1st of this year. He's been a law-abiding citizen. He's a retired minister. I don't think he's even had a traffic ticket. So I think justice would well be served, Your Honor, by a straight probation grant.
I might indicate one more thing, Your Honor. Mr. Gay did do 80 days, or approximately 80 days, in custody prior to bailing out. And he also informs me that he no longer drives, so...
No. Mrs. Barkey?
Yes, Your Honor. It's a good probation report from Mr. Gay. They recommend probation with a suitable time in county jail. It's difficult for me to ask for additional time when the report is as good as it is on his behalf. I don't know what purpose additional local time is going to serve. It's almost a case of, unless you're going to impose a state prison sentence, I think imposing additional local time doesn't do any good in this kind of case. Based on his physical condition, the fact that he is barely able to get out of the house at this point, I agree with the defense attorneys that I don't think he poses a threat to society at this point. And it's one of those situations where he, based on his age, and the police officers involved, their recommendation that he spend no more additional time in jail, it's difficult for me to argue for more time based on all the circumstances surrounding this case. I'd have to agree and go along with the probation officer's recommendation, but would like to make it clear that the DA's office would like Mr. Gay to receive some psychological or psychiatric counseling as a condition of probation.
I agree with all of you in this case. Sending him to prison or requiring any additional county jail time would be a death sentence. Mr. Gay, I'm going to impose and suspend the midterm of 6 years in state prison and strike the firearm use clause. You'll be on probation with the probation officer of this county for 5 years. I will not require that you do any further county jail time in this matter. I understand that, gentlemen, that he is practically destitute. Is that so?
I think that's a fair...
He has some property, but he has very little, no income and very little cash.
And that if I imposed a money fine, it would be for all practical purposes uncollectible?
Yes.
What about the possibility of community service? Is he mobile enough to do that?
I don't think so, Your Honor. I think I just indicated to the court that he no longer drives. He spends, as Mr. Schiff said, most of his time in and around the house. And as much as the community might benefit from service by Mr. Gay, as community does tend to benefit from service by its citizens, I just don't see this as a case that would be appropriate.
All right, I'll require that he submit to psychological treatment as directed by the probation officer at his own expense, that he obey all criminal laws, federal, state, and local, bonds exonerated.
Thank you kindly.
This is one of those terribly tragic cases in which a young life was snuffed out, and apparently a young life which was fairly productive in the field of arts and entertainment. And under the circumstances, it seems to be agreed by everybody, including the very able and experienced investigating officers in this case, that the young man who died tragically, provoked this incident. And it was all his fault. You're free to go, Mr.
Your Honor, Mr. Gay would like to make a statement to the court if the court would hear it.
I mean this from my heart. I wish I could going back. I wish, I just regret it. It's killing me. I'm sorry. It's something I regret it. It's always until I die.